America tried to remove Maduro for a decade through sanctions. Now the military option is on the table, and no one has a plan for what comes after. For years, the US played a game of financial attrition, freezing bank accounts and seizing tankers. But in 2026, the game changed. What started as a targeted maritime operation to dismantle transnational criminal networks has spiraled into a direct military confrontation with the Miraflores Palace. We are no longer talking about indictments. We are talking about kinetic force. But as the Pentagon prepares its strike packages, the global economy is staring into a black hole. The immediate casualty is the energy market. Venezuela sits on the world's largest proven oil reserves, but its infrastructure is a rusted skeleton. A full-scale US intervention doesn't just liberate the oil, it paralyzes it. Analysts warn that 120,000 barrels of daily production could vanish overnight. While that sounds like a drop in the bucket of global demand, in a fragile 2026 market, it's the spark in a powder keg. Venezuelan oil futures are already behaving like a cardiac monitor in a crisis ward, and the ripple effects are hitting the Caribbean energy grid, which still relies on the remnants of the Petrocarib system. If the flow stops, the lights go out across half a dozen island nations. But the real horror isn't found in a spreadsheet, it's on the streets of Caracas. This is the economic scorched earth. For 30 million people, the liberation might feel a lot like a funeral. By blocking the final channels of Venezuelan exports, the US risks triggering a total food system collapse. We are looking at hyperinflation that makes the 2018 crisis look like a minor market correction. When a nation can't eat, it moves. An intervention would likely spark a refugee exodus that would make previous waves look like a trickle. We are talking about millions of people heading north simultaneously, creating a border crisis that would overwhelm US domestic policy for a generation. This is where the geopolitical pivot turns into a trap. Washington thinks it's cleaning up its backyard, but the rest of Latin America sees a neighborhood bully with a sledgehammer. Regional leaders in Brazil and Bogota are watching. If the US moves unilaterally, it confirms every fear that Washington is an unpredictable and dangerous partner. This is the moment China has been waiting for. Beijing doesn't need to fire a single shot. They just need to offer a stable, non-interference alternative to American chaos. An intervention could inadvertently push the entire Southern Hemisphere into a permanent alliance with the CCP, leaving the US diplomatically isolated in its own hemisphere. The financial fallout is already bleeding into neighboring markets. Colombian sovereign bonds are shaking as investors price in the cost of a regional war. US agricultural exports, which rely on stable Latin American purchasing power, are looking at a projected multi-billion-dollar deficit as the regional economy craters. It is a domino effect where the first tile is a Tomahawk missile. But the most dangerous blind spot is the long-term occupation trap. To use a simple analogy, Washington is preparing to kick down the door of a house, only to realize too late that the entire building is structurally unsound. Once the door is down, the roof collapses on you. Winning the initial war is the easy part. The US military can take Caracas in a weekend. But then what? You are left holding the bag for a collapsed state with zero functional infrastructure, a dismantled power grid, and a population that needs to be fed, policed, and rebuilt from scratch. It's a multi-decade liability that makes the reconstruction of Iraq look like a weekend DIY project. The US is walking into a situation where victory means inheriting a bankrupt, broken nation of 30 million people, while the rest of the world turns its back. We are witnessing the birth of a quagmire that could break the back of American influence in the Americas. The military option is on the table, the engines are warm, and the missiles are locked. But in the rush to remove a dictator, the West may be accidentally dismantling an entire continent's stability. The trap is set, and we are about to walk right into it.